regulators for the Justice Department agreed to restrict DOGE's access to a sensitive federal payment system. For now, last weekend, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent gave members of DOGE access to the system, then later claimed that the team only had read-only access. 3 federal employee unions have now sued, saying it is illegal. A U.S. district judge overseeing the case and now must sign off on the DOJ's proposed order. Trial attorney John Fishwick, former U.S. attorney for the Western District of Virginia, is with us. I think this is a special circumstance, right? Because this is a special appointment. I mean, it's not like he was voted in. He hasn't been, needed to be confirmed in his position. And we've got Elon Musk with access potentially to some pretty sensitive information. How uncharted are these waters?
Marni, these are very uncharted waters. They set up Elon Musk as what's called a special government employee, meaning that he can work 130 days of the year and he doesn't have to do the background check like other government employees. And they say they've modeled DOGE after an Obama-era agency, the U.S. Digital Agency, where they can bring in an outside consultant. But I don't think we've ever seen somebody who has the potential influence of Elon Musk, who hasn't been confirmed by the Senate, who hasn't really had the background check that a typical government employee does have to have, a high-level employee. And, he's got full sway with the government now. He's got a major job, and he still has all of his private interests intact. He still, runs a number of major companies in this country. So I think you're going to see litigation left and right as relates to his role, how long he'll be able to stay in his current kind of quasi-government, quasi-private role. Time will tell, but I think it's going to be potentially death by 1,000 cuts for him in his current position.
Well, and then you've got to wonder, any actions that he takes now, how might those be legally challenged down the road and potentially undone because of the role he plays?
I think everything he does is going to be a legal challenge. That's been the case so far. I think the really sensitive area is, giving him access to private payments by the government, Social Security payments, Medicare payments, disability payments, those types of things. Those are very sensitive and private, and given a private citizen, after all, he's not a full-time government employee. He's got this kind of special status. I think it's going to create problems. And so if by chance anything is ever revealed that, gets hacked in some way by his work, that'll create tremendous problems. But I think the Trump administration is going to have to make a decision here. Does he become kind of a kitchen cabinet guy, a guy who gives advice from a distance, or does he become a full-time employee and detach himself from his private interests? I think this in-between route that they've chosen is going to be tough to maintain because, as I mentioned, every time he turns around and does something, a lawsuit is going to be filed.
Right. So maybe acting more as an advisor would be less of a legal challenge than someone who's actually given the authority to go in and shut down USAID, for example.
I think exactly, Marni. I mean, President Truman had a kitchen cabinet. He had a lot of folks he talked to who gave him good advice that he listened to, who weren't cabinet members, who weren't, approved by the Senate to their positions. I think he's on safe ground there. But I think when he gets into, looking at payments, firing people from the government in his kind of quasi-special government employee, I don't think that's going to ultimately fly, at least with some of the court decisions. I'm sure Musk will win some of the court decisions, but he's going to lose some of the court cases. And I think that's going to create kind of an untenable position for him in his current status. He can absolutely help the government. He can help the Trump team. But I think in his current role, it's going to be tough to maintain. It's going to be death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we know the president has good lawyers advising him. We'll see where this goes. John Fishwick, thank you for always stopping by. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.